A state budget is past the governor's desk, but what does that mean for Peoria? That's just one of the things you'll want to hear about to start your day for Thursday, June 6th. I'm Colin Shope, and this is WCBU's On Deck. First on deck today, Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a record budget of more than $53 billion that he says is balanced. WCBU's Cameron Cutinello has more.
This is Pritzker's sixth budget since taking office in 2019. The new spending plan provides more for education and early childhood programs and eliminates the state's tax on groceries. It also has $500 million in seed money for a quantum computing campus that Pritzker says can supercharge state economic growth.
The FY25 budget is another demonstration of the fiscal responsibility that has guided me from day one of my administration.
Representative Jahan Gordon Booth says the state still has a lot of work to do, but she believes the fiscal year 2025 budget is an important marker. The Peoria Democrat is the lead budget negotiator in the Illinois House.
The perspective that I have from some of the budgets that we have passed in this state, we are head and shoulders above where we have been, and we are making great strides to be where we want to go, to go to where we want to be.
But Senate Minority Leader John Curran calls the plan a taxpayer-funded spending spree that prioritizes non-citizens. The new Illinois fiscal year begins July 1st. I'm Cameron Cutinello.
Here are some other stories we're following in the WCBU newsroom. U.S. Senator Dick Durbin says the vote on a bill to affirm a right to contraception is necessary. And the decades-old Metamora Community Pool is set to close. Plus, a public meeting is set for June 13th for those looking to share their opinion about the planned closure of the Logan Women's Prison in Lincoln. Find more of these stories and all the details at WCBU.org. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed that $53 billion budget for the 2025 fiscal year, and Peoria leaders now have a clearer picture of how the spending plan impacts city finances. City Manager Patrick Urich tells WCBU the state budget is much better than what it could have been from the city's perspective. WCBU's Joe Deacon reports.
Lawmakers approved Governor Pritzker's proposal to repeal the 1% state sales tax on groceries as of January 1st of 2026. City Manager Urich says the elimination of the grocery tax presents the biggest concern for Peoria's bottom line, with the general fund facing an estimated annual shortfall of $4 million.
That's a sizable amount of revenue for the city of Peoria. So we'll look at different options. There may be council members that don't want to do anything. There may be council members that want us to look at different revenue streams. There may be other council members that just want us to look at cutting expenses.
Municipalities like Peoria will have the ability to establish their own grocery tax to recoup the lost state revenue. Urich says the delayed implementation date gives the city some time to decide on what steps to take.
That'll be a discussion that council won't have to take up this year, but we'll certainly have to discuss in the following years.
Urich says some bright spots for Peoria in the new state budget come in reauthorized spending for several capital improvements, although he notes the funds haven't been formally released.
We've got some projects that we've been waiting on funding that have been reauthorized, $15 million for the riverfront, $25 million for Main Street, $2.5 million for some street lighting in the community, $3 million more for MacArthur.
Urich adds the state also reauthorized spending $6 million to reconstruct stretches of Lake and Gale Avenues maintained by Peoria County as part of the Rebuild Illinois Capital Improvement Plan. Additionally, Urich says they're keeping an eye on trends with their other streams of state tax revenue.
We get a share of personal property replacement tax revenues, and the state has made some changes to that, and then the amount of corporate income tax that has come in. We've seen some significant reductions there. So that's a concern that we just have to watch and continue to watch. Our income tax share that we get from the personal income tax seems to be coming in at a good pace, and same with our sales tax dollars.
Urich says it's not clear when the state might release the $15 million allocation for the riverfront project, and that the city would still need to come up with about $11 million more to fully fund the current plan.
We're certainly going to look at corporate donations. We're going to look at how we can do some additional fundraising, and then probably bring in some additional local funds or recommendations to the council about that. But At this point, we think the estimates are right in about the $26 million range is what we're looking at. But we know that we've had some definite interest from some parties, some corporate entities that have said they'd be interested in talking to us about sponsorship opportunities. So we're going to certainly take them up on that.
Urich says the city still has a standing request for proposal open for the public dock space, seeking a possible riverboat or other attraction to replace the Spirit of Peoria.
We haven't had many takers on it right now or any proposals. So the triggering event is really when that state funding gets released. Then we can start moving down this path of making it a reality. So that's what we're waiting on, and then we'll start that process. And I think once we're in that process of construction, then I think we'll start to see that we're going to have more interest.
Urich says another expense Peoria needs to monitor is its rising liability and property insurance costs.
Really, for the city, what we've got to look at and what we're going to be exploring at a staff level is at what point do we look at providing a certain level of self-insurance, right? How much do we carry and manage that since it's just becoming almost too cost prohibitive for us to purchase insurance in the market.
Urich says the city's large amount of coverage needs presents a significant challenge.
We have millions of square feet of building space. We have hundreds of vehicles, and we have hundreds of employees. And when you have that makes it a very difficult entity to insure.
Urich says the self-insurance option would likely take the form of carrying higher deductibles to lower the premiums, and then using city funds to cover the gaps remaining from those higher deductibles. For WCBU's On Deck, I'm Joe Deacon.
Now, before we let you go, the Pekin Farmers Market is back for their 4th season and the first time this year today. From 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the Miller Center parking lot, you can find homemade goods, fresh produce, baked goods, crafts, food, and more. The market runs regularly on Thursdays now through August 29th. And that's all for today. You can subscribe to WCBU's On Deck podcast on the NPR app, Apple, or Spotify.